Don't change who you are for someone else just because you know how to maintain the struggle when someone else is still trying to learn how to adapt into it. The more interactions I have, the more I realize a lot of people have a very low tolerance for suffering. And I realize that that's something that you genuinely have to build. Like, you have to find ways to be able to tell yourself, this is going to be very temporary and it's okay to go through this. Same way that you sit out there, in the sun and you're like, okay, it's super hot, but eventually I'm gonna go back inside. Or maybe going to the gym, you're lifting heavy weight, but at the end of it, you're gonna be able to take a shower and relax. Or maybe whenever you're working a job and you're like, okay, at the end of my shift, at least I can go home and be able to eat whatever I want to and be able to relax and do what you want to, right? Suffering is temporary, but most of the time people don't know how to actually manage getting through it, because in the moment you realize this is suffering. This does not feel comfortable, and I want to be able to get to a point where this is rather a normal, or I don't have to do this at all, right? The thing is though, suffering is a superpower. The reason I say that is because when you're in suffering, you realize how strong your mentality actually is. You realize how strong your body actually is to be able to maintain the suffering. Most of the time people get in a position where they're suffering and they want to flee from it. So the fact that you can be able to withstand that and push forward says a lot about you. And the thing is that it doesn't have to be big things. It could be very subtle things. It could be, rolling with the window down instead of you having the AC on. It could be reading a book every other day instead of you doing something that's going to waste your time. It could be just not eating out one night or 2 nights during the week to be able to put you in a position where your body could look leaner, right? It's subtle decisions that you make consistently that add up for the results that you're actually looking for. And most of the time, that's where people struggle. Most of the time, that's where people want to get back in their comfort. They want to go back to what's normal, and they want to sit there and then they complain about why they're not where they want to be at, right? The thing is that you're mentally training yourself down the road to do what's hard, regardless of whatever the suffering actually is. So whenever something hard comes, you have a different mentality versus everyone else. While they're sitting there complaining, you're sitting there embracing, and that's important. When you can embrace pain, when you can embrace struggle, when you can embrace suffering, you put yourself ahead because you know how to maintain it. Meanwhile, other people want to flee and want to run from it. So it makes it a superpower. The moment that you recognize that though, if you're not used to putting yourself in a suffering position, then when the moment comes, you're just like everybody else. And not only does that make you just like everybody else, but it makes you very vulnerable to not becoming successful. The only way that you become successful is actually being able to suffer and seeing who can actually suffer the longest, as well as maintain the hard times to overcome, right? Because if suffering was easy, everyone else would be doing it. But because it's hard, not everybody can do it. The same way you have certain job positions. Sure, anybody can get that position, but sometimes you need certain knowledge. Sometimes you need certain experience. Sometimes you need certain connections just to even get in the room. Other times it's just very simple. Anybody could work at a restaurant. Anybody could work at a store, because anybody should know how to do what they need to do. It's simple jobs. But when you understand what the suffering is to get to certain positions, it makes you valuable. I had to learn myself that putting yourself in a position when you're doing something that's hard every day will mentally train you to be farther. You just don't want it bad enough. And that's okay. A lot of people don't want it bad enough because they understand the struggle that it genuinely comes with. They understand the potential that they have, but then they don't want to actually go after it because you understand what it's going to take to actually get there. That's why when you see other people doing well, you start hating on it because you're like, man, rather that's where I could be, or that's where I should be, or I hate seeing that this person is more successful than I am. And even with that type of perspective, you should be looking at that as motivation, and yet you're hating on it. Because someone else works harder than you, you're hating on it. Because you're not on TV, you're hating on it. Because you're not popping up on a popular reel, you're hating on it. Because you're not hitting the gym and working on yourself and your body, you're hating on it. Because you're not educating, you're hating on it. Because you haven't been given an opportunity, you're hating on it. When really, you should be flipping it. How do I put myself in that position? How do I learn how to go through the struggle? What do I need to learn to get in that position? And on the other side, when you're doing your job, when you're doing what you need to do, you're gonna have haters. Haters just mean that you're doing something right. And if you're doing something right, it doesn't matter what they say, because the results are gonna come anyway. The results are gonna produce themselves. People are gonna find themselves supporting you more than they are hating you. Now you gotta be careful, because whatever you're doing may make you a target. But down the road, you'll be able to look back and be like, man, It's crazy. I felt so much support and love from this person, this group, this certain app when I had all these interactions and these certain comments, and this changed this person's life, and I had this conversation because I did what I needed to do. So even though people don't like to suffer, put yourself in suffering positions, because that's where growth is at. That's where growth will flourish. That's where growth will create the opportunity for you to actually see the results that you want. I remember the first consistent thing that I did that was painful, or maybe that I was uncomfortable with, was that when I was done working out, I would drive with the window down. And I know it's like, well, what does that mean? My body naturally wanted to cool down. So it was like, turn the AC on, roll the window up, the hot air is hitting on my face. But naturally, the more that I did that, the more I became accustomed to it, right? So now whenever I'm rolling and it's hot outside, and to other people to like turn the AC on, roll the windows up, I'm already used to it because I've accustomed myself to be okay with it, right? And anyone knows if they roll with me, I'm the type of person that'll roll the window down now, because from years ago when I used to be done with the gym, I had to learn how to be okay with discomfort. And it's just like that with anything else you do. The moment that you do something and it becomes accustomed to you and now you're used to it, you'll recognize how uncomfortable that is for other people. That could be conversating, that could be making money, that could be having certain sales, that should be having certain goals, that could be waking up certain times of the day, that could be hitting the gym certain time, that could be making a run, that could be whatever you're used to doing, and now you're used to it. So to someone else, they're like, man, there's no way you do that every single day. There's no way you do that 3, 4, 5 times a week. How do you do that? Because now the pain has become a normal thing. Meanwhile, someone else, they would struggle doing what you're doing. And that's what puts you ahead. Struggle is what's supposed to make you successful, I'm telling you. Because again, if being successful was easy, other people would do it. That's why a lot of people are not successful. That's why a lot of people are actually struggling, trying to just make it. They're okay with the comfort. And then when the discomfort comes, that's when they decide to act. And by then it's too late. By the time rent is due, now you over here DoorDashing and Uber around the city, when had you already been working your job, had you been working enough hours, had you been working the overtime, had you been working on that side business, had you been educating, had you been doing what you needed to do, you could have already had the responsibilities taken care of. But now the pressure is on you and the fire is under you. And now you have to do what's tough. And then by the time you're doing it, you're finally like, okay, I can finally relax because I deserve that. But the other person that said the same thing is already ahead of you. I can finally relax because I deserve this, but I've been working all month, not just on the last weekend of the month. That's the difference. Do what needs to be done regardless of how hard it is. And that's what's going to put you ahead in life. I'm telling y'all right now, that's how you become successful. If there's any blueprint, that's how you make it. And anything you do, you have to suffer. And anything you do, you have to keep pushing forward. Because someone else is going to give up while you keep moving. Someone else is going to give up while you keep studying. Someone else will give up while you stay up for the late nights. Someone else is going to give up when they understand how hard it is to get where you are. Haters are meant to come. And that's the best part, because that means you're doing something right. Again, don't change who you are for someone else just because you know how to maintain the struggle when someone else is still trying to learn how to adapt into it. So that being said, I appreciate y'all for watching, making it this far in the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, King Malone, and I'll holler at y'all in the next video. I'm gone.